is up, everybody? Welcome back. Truth and Transparency, the Idaho4, revealing the 300 sources of the James Patterson book. This is part 2. So, all right, we're gonna get into some of the leaks. I think you're gonna be able to tell, like, oh wow, when you can connect some of these dots. So, oh boy. I got a response from the Idaho State Police with one of my FOIA requests, and it had to do with the lab reports, and I'm really confused because they just put out the lab reports, right? But I was asking for like emails and stuff that had to do with certain things, so I got to reach back out to them today because since I already have the physical lab reports, they're saying that what they need to turn over to me is 121 pages, and so I just want to check and see what this has to do with, because I just physically want these. I want a bunch of the emails. I want all the emailing. I want every email that Ann Taylor received with communications about the report. So we'll find out. But yeah, it was something like $416. And I was like, I just need to know out of those pages, what's the lab reports? Because if the majority is these lab reports, I mean, I already have them. So wanted to update you guys on that. Let's see. Let's go back to... okay. All right. Hold on one second. Okay, back at it. All right. Starting back off here on chapter 74. Yeah, 74 is where I want to start. In quotes. Wakes up at 5 a.m. so she can work. And those people who are talking to us, end quotes. Interview with Christine Cameron, June of 2024. I'm like, what is this? Stop the name calling, in quotes, from University of Idaho case discussion Facebook group posted on December 3rd, 2022. What? And then I was like, oh my God, they're talking about those two broads from that Facebook group. Chapter 74. The FBI trailer. In quotes, Thompson gave a rare interview, and Thompson told Brian Enton no evidence of Idaho killings were drug related. This comes out on page 244. 244. On November 30th. $244. That doesn't say anything like that. 245 it does. On November 30th, Bill Thompson gave a rare interview. It doesn't talk about drugs at all, though. The word drugs is not said at all. So that must be on a completely different page. So I call bullshit on that. But no evidence Idaho killings were drug related. Yeah, no. Thompson's office puts out a statement. Was one of the University of Idaho victims targeted? Idaho Statesman, January 6th. What is also happening now in quotes? Olivia Land. Cops, FBI still have no leads in University of Idaho slayings, leaving victims' parents angry. New York Post, December 6th, 2022. Who is Olivia Land? The same family that found, in quotes, and this is Ben Kessling, dad of slain Idaho student, says cops haven't updated him on investigation since Thanksgiving. November 27th, 2022. The family has been getting threats. This came from Olivia Gonsalves, February 2025. She did an interview saying that. Doug Wilson again is interviewed in October of 2023. Who are these people? Okay. Donald Trump even tweeted. Emma Epperly. Trump tweets video of Idaho church gathering, claims Democrats want to shut down churches. The Spokesman Review, October 7, 2020. This book has it all. Okay. Doug Wilson says in an interview on August 29th, 2023. So he was interviewed multiple times, Doug Wilson of the Christ Church or whatever. He starts to type his weekly newsletter. All newsletter quotes from emails forwarded to author by Doug Wilson. So Doug Wilson forwards James Patterson a bunch of emails. Then Doug Wilson, on another interview, October of 2023, says he gathers that there's video on it through 1122 King Road was in a seedy area. So Doug Wilson's telling James Patterson here, good old James Patterson here, that where this crime occurred is in a bad part of town. Chapter 76. Oh, yeah, here we go. Christine Cameron and Elena Smith. Those are the two girls from that Facebook page. I'm not going to talk about them. That's just a waste of fucking time. Okay. Idaho's governor, Brad Little, is also coming, says Kyle Simmock. University of Idaho hosts vigil honoring the lives of 4 students at Kibbe Dome, and that was November 30th. Do you know they interviewed somebody after that candlelit vigil because he drove a white car. He was by himself, and so they did like their own tip into themselves, and then they interviewed this kid. It's in the Discovery. It's very bizarre. I don't know who told him, in quotes, says Blaine Eccles about God knows what. Interview with Emily Allant. She and Hunter Johnson are back in Idaho. Through, in quotes, she figures there's must be at least 100 mourners. I don't know. Dylan is there too. No sign of Bethany. So Dylan went to the vigil, but Bethany did not, according to Emily. Kara is there, out on bail. Kara Knuddle, mother of Xana, was there. Jeez. Who else do we have here? Okay. Chapter 79. Othram Labs had checked the sample, in quotes. In quotes, the FBI gives a tip to Brett Payne, end quote. And he gets that from not speaking with Othram, but from the order on defendant's motion to suppress IGG. Payne will later say, in quotes, transcript of recorded proceedings before the Honorable Stephen Judge Hippler on January 23rd, 2025. You know what? I want to see if he misquotes that. 264. Because Payne got handed his ass. Okay. Oh my God, I called it. Look at this. Look at my notes. Jesus. Oh, shit. All right. What'd you do here? 4 days from now, on December 19th, the FBI gives a tip to Brett Payne. Payne will later say that the name provided is not one they'd previously associated with the investigation. Now the investigators can look at Culber's vehicle records, which shows he owns a white 2015 Hyundai Elantra. Well, I was digging deeper. I got the exact date that was purchased. Brian Culber purchased his vehicle on 4/20/2022. 4/20. And then they will do a video canvas in Pullman, where Culber lives, for the night of November 13th. They can see that at 2:44 a.m., the car is headed north on Nevada Street, but less than 10 minutes later, it's headed south on State Route 270, the road that connects Pullman to Moscow. Okay. I'm over here like, why use this false shit, James? But I'm glad that you did, because now we can talk about this. So remember how there's video of this? There's a car. I want that video. That video was not going to be shown in trial as an exhibit. The 244, video of a white sedan. Okay. And the way that James Patterson's making it seem like is it wasn't until after December 19th that they went and tried to start looking at video surveillance in that area. Well, James Patterson, I don't know if he knew this or he should have known this, but that began way earlier. And guess what? It's proven in the release of the documents by Pullman putting out, these spreadsheets that they were, looking for a white Elantra. But more importantly, in interviews with Jenkins is talking about how he secured camera footage, how he put a preservation, like he preserved camera footage. He interviewed Jenkins himself. Like, how do you even? This is just disgusting. And when investigators check Culber's name in their databases, then when do you think that happened? It happened way before December 19th. And when investigators check Culber's name in their databases, a police body cam shows that on August 21st, a Brian C. Culber was detained in Moscow at a traffic stop, and that the car had a rear Pennsylvania license plate. And that the car, and that it was set to expire on November 30th. It had no front plate. Well, you can't see that from any of these body cam or any of these dash cams. Nothing can you see that it had no front plate. The car they'd capture on video had no front plate. You guys, there has been no video that we've seen where there's no front plate. Further, DMV records will show that on November 18th, just 5 days after the murders, Culber registered the vehicle in Washington and received new license plates front and back, as is required. From there, locating the car will be relatively easy. The new plate showed up on a license plate reader in Loma, Colorado on December 13th and on December 16th. Not in Loma, Colorado, though. And that was on CC television footage that put the vehicle in Albrights, Pennsylvania. This is why, again, Ann Taylor is using December 14th, like the weather, as an exhibit. As to, like, I personally believe to show the route that they traveled home, why they traveled that way. They will also note that Brian's photograph shows a man with dark hair and dark bushy eyebrows. The description that Dylan Mortensen gave of the masked man she had mistaken for a fireman on the night of the murders. Okay. So we're going to back up a little bit here. Since Dylan Mortensen did not say the words bushy eyebrows ever, like on that day, November 13th, and the next time that she is interviewed on the 17th and she wants to say bushy eyebrows, right? How do I want to say this? She's like, I just remember thinking bushy eyebrows. I just remember thinking bushy eyebrows. You don't remember seeing, you just remember thinking bushy eyebrows. There's a difference like when you make a statement like that. I remember seeing like bushy eyebrows. I remember thinking bushy eyebrows. Just want to put that out there. Moving on. What is that shit? Oh my God. Okay. So in this book, he interviews Nate Wilson. That's right. Nate Wilson is the neighbor of the Gonsalves' attorney, Gray. Gray is covered in tattoos and he drives a maroon Mercedes G-Wagon. He's a pimp. He's a pimp. He'll later say, and they know I'm willing to break rules. Interview with Steve Gonsalves. Like, what? Like, I cannot believe that this stuff is being put out there. That these people are willing to break rules. Like, he's already in trouble. Anyways, Rebecca Rosenberg says, things that we can request. Rebecca Rosenberg says, Idaho murder slain students' family plans to hire lawyer amid tensions with police. And that's on December 6th, 2022. Miller introduced the Grays through I'll Spend As Much Money interview with Steve Gonsalves, November of 2023. Let's see who else we have here. Rebecca Rosenberg. They've messed up a million times. The Idaho murders. Slain students' family plans to hire lawyer amid tension with police. Again, this is on Fox News. So the family's saying they've messed up a million times. Steve told Fox Little News, Rebecca Rosenberg says, that, again, like this is just being repeated. It's all over the place, all these interviews. So they mentioned how Gray was suspended back in Oregon by the bar. But that came from Nate Wilson. Nate Wilson is Shannon Gray's neighbor, or was Shannon Gray's neighbor. Very small world. Let's see. Rachel Sharp is the source that gives the Maddie and Kaylee on the sidewalk with Jack Showalter video. New video shows Idaho students discussing mystery man named Adam hours before college murders, which was December 18th when that was put out. Let's see. You know, I think it's interesting is that after this whole who is Adam thing and what did Maddie tell Adam, we would expect to see in the interviews, well, who went back and re-questioned Adam and said, hey, what is this about? Nobody. What the fuck? Okay. Look at this. So the New York Post, a strange mirror selfie. Okay. Emily Crane and Nicholas McEntry. Brian Colber posted creepy selfie hours after Idaho student murders. Bought K-bar knife on Amazon, prosecutors say. This was in an interview. And the New York Post, it was March 20th, 2025. But it was actually, so I went and looked. How do I want to say this? Thank you. Back when they were submitting, I have it here. Ashley Jennings. How do I want to word this? Okay. Oh my gosh. Excuse me. Oh, thank you. Okay, got it. Yes, got it. Okay. Check this out. Ashley Jennings, I got your ass. Ashley Jennings files this on March 17th, 2025. Okay. March 17th. It says, comes now the state of Idaho by and through Latah County prosecuting attorneys and hereby moves the court for an order to seal the state's exhibits labeled S1 through S4 attached to the state's response defendant's motion in limine number 7, which is the witness identification by bushy eyebrows. Okay, bushy eyebrows. Pursuant to Idaho, blah, blah, blah. The state is mindful of the court's order regarding sealed and redacting filings issued on March 3rd, 2025, and provides the following. Okay, now check this out. Oh my God, this is so good. Fuck you, Ashley. I got your ass. State's Exhibit S1 is a copy of DM's phone and text messages for November 13th, 2022. This exhibit was prepared for and used for the grand jury proceedings on May 15th, 2023. In addition to including cell phone numbers, which could be redacted, the entirety of the document is previously under seal pursuant to the order of filing records, blah, blah, blah. Next, S2. State's Exhibit S2 and S3 are portions of transcripts from DM's interview with investigators on November 17th and December 1st. These portions of the transcripts were not included as part of defendant's exhibit number 6 and defendant's exhibit number 7, which were filed under seal. And so here she's like, I want to provide these things for you, okay? For consistency and pursuant to the same authority cited by the court, the state seeks to seal these exhibits in their entirety. Next, State's Exhibit S4 is a copy of DM's grand jury testimony portions, okay? Then we get to S5, which is a picture of Brian Kohlberger taken on November 13th, 2002, okay? 2022. The state is not seeking that this exhibit be sealed, as the contents were disclosed within the response, and there is no valid authority for sealing this exhibit. That is the picture. Okay. State's Exhibit S6 is a driver's license photograph of Brian Kohlberger. The state is submitting a redacted photograph of this exhibit without private information such as the driver's license number, date of birth, blah, blah, blah. The state is not seeking that this exhibit be sealed, as the contents were disclosed within the response, and there is no valid authority for sealing this exhibit. Ashley Jennings. Go get him, Ash. Go get him. So we go back to this, which is Uh, yes, we go to. So again, a strange mirror selfie. Emily Crane and Nicholas, they write that thing up on March 20th, 2025, thanks to none other than Ashley Jennings. The team get another warrant and close to the King Road house. Probable cause affidavit exhibit A. Okay. In quotes, reaches out to its Philadelphia field office. Dakin Andone. What will still what we still don't know about the suspect in the Idaho college student killing, CNN, January 4th, 2023. Okay. Police rule out Idaho professor who sued TikToker over allegations in student slaying. December 28th, 2022. That's about, Ashley and that professor woman. Um, let's see. Oh, there we go. Chapter 84, Gary Jenkins. Meet at our police department interview with Gary Jenkins, October of 2023. Again, that's chapter 84. He's Pullman Police Department for 12 years. WS Police Chief Gary Jenkins to retire in 2025. He assumes Fry's holding. I interviewed him for an internship position. So all of it, everything in chapter 84 is a lie. We've come, and everything that he told Anjanette Levy, love her, by the way. Gary Jenkins, just a complete liar. Here you go. Where does it say this? Okay. The WS Police Chief Gary Jenkins is finishing up for the day when he sees that James Fry is calling his cell phone. Can you meet at our police department? Fry asks. Again, Jenkins and Fry are old friends. Jenkins was recently reassigned to WSU, but prior to that, he ran the Pullman Police Department for 12 years. It is highly unusual for Fry to be secretive and tight-lipped as he's been about the Idaho4, as the victims are coming to be known, but the chiefs have helped each other out on dozens of cases. Jenkins knows what his friend is trying to prevent, somehow tipping off the murderer. So, as he drives over to the police station, he assumes Fry is holding a second multi-agency briefing, similar to the one where they asked for help searching for the white Honda Elantra. This is crazy. Okay. He's saying that they had a multiple agency briefing for the white Honda Elantra, which would have been before November 2025. Or I'm sorry, November 25th, 2022. And yet we have not seen any report talking about any of that shit going down. None of it. But when Fry meets Jenkins at the front door of the station, the WSU chief senses this is different. Jenkins follows Fry upstairs and into the conference room and sees a sea of faces. He realizes the entire team of investigators is gathered there waiting for him. What they are about to tell him, Fry says, is completely confidential, not to be shared even with his agency. In that instance, he realizes why they're there, or why he's there. They've found whoever did this. This person is at WSU on his turf. His heart sinks. Now, he's trying to say that this happened on December 28th, 2022. There's no fucking way. Why? Because Brett Payne had to leave to go to Pennsylvania, okay, to make an arrest, right? Brett Payne says, we think we know who the suspect is and he's in WSU housing. Next. And then he says his name, Brian Kohlberger. Okay, Brian Kohlberger. Now, I have pulled up and gone through like a crazy person all of my stuff from WSU in terms of the Pullman police and what they've put out, and what they've put out at WSU in terms of Gary Jenkins text messages. Okay, Gary Jenkins text messages. Okay, so odd name, Jenkins thinks, but it's an odd familiar name. It rings a bell, and then it comes to him. I know that name, he tells the people in the room. He sees astonishment on their faces. I think I interviewed him for an internship position when I was Pullman chief of police. I probably have his resume and cover letter in my files. He goes straight back to his office and sends them over. Payne and the team receive them, and their contents make it straight onto Payne's draft affidavit, the one he'll submit providing evidence to justify an arrest warrant for Brian Kohlberger. Well, that's where the problem lies. Because his affidavit to get December 23rd's phone records, it already includes it, doesn't it? Now, where is this at? Okay, so Payne and the team receive them, and their contents make it straight onto Payne's draft affidavit, the one he'll submit providing evidence to justify an arrest warrant for Brian Kohlberger. It already contains what the police have discovered about the path of the Hyundai Elantra, Kohlberger's cell phone records, and what Dylan Mortensen saw that night. Payne now adds to it the following. You guys, how did Homeboy get this? Like, this is before any of the documents were out. He wrote this, like, where'd he get this from? Where's he getting what was added to a search? I mean, Ann Taylor couldn't even get damn search warrant affidavits. Pursuant to records provided by a member of the interview panel for Pullman Police Department, we learned that Kohlberger's past education included undergraduate degrees in psychology and cloud-based forensics. You're going to sit here and tell me that they didn't know that on the 19th? While Payne is writing, Jenkins is sitting in front of his computer, already running his to-do list through his mind. He's getting ready for what he'll say when he's allowed to share what he knows, and for when his team gets the green light to write the warrants for the Moscow team to search Kohlberger's home and office. He's not involved in any of that. Don Daniels is. Thank God he'd spoken to the guy in charge of camera security along the Stadium Way, the main street in Pullman. Thank God he'd spoken to that guy. Soon after the murders, they'd agreed it might be worth holding on to the footage of the night of the murders beyond the regular retention of 60 days. Holy shit, like I just said. Gary, you, in this right here, Gary Jenkins took it upon himself. He is saying that he preserved all of the footage on WSU's campus. Thank you, Gary. Thank you so much for this interview and for this being written. This is unbelievable. Gary Jenkins is saying that right after the murders happened is when he met up with the IT guy, basically, WSU, and preserved the retention is usually just 60 days for the campus cameras. There you go. Soon after the murders, they'd agreed it might be worth holding on to the footage of the night of the murders beyond its regular retention of 60 days. Tisk, tisk. Lies, lies. Okay. Again, this is all can be found on chapter 84. When he gives his interview, though, and he's telling James Patterson this stuff, you guys, he tells James Patterson about this in an October 2023 interview. It's not like he interviewed with James Patterson after Brian Kober pleaded guilty. Okay. The interview on when he provided all of this, October of 2023. In June of 2024 is the part where he says, soon after the murders, they'd agreed it might be, and writing all that stuff in. And again, all of these time frames of these interviews all coincide with Ann Taylor's requests on what she's wanting from that area. Like during her discovery requests, and if you put the discovery requests, if you have that on the left side, and it's here's all in order chronologically, and the dates of when Ann Taylor is requesting stuff to be provided to her for more discovery. So it's supplemental requests. And you actually put these interviews side by side and put them in chronological order of every single person and when the portions were provided to James Patterson. This book, okay, this book was always planned to come out right before a trial. True statement. True statement. Because this book at one point was supposed to come out even earlier. It's just mind-blowing. Why would Gary Jenkins be giving James Patterson information that goes directly against the gag order? And here's proof of it. Like, I'm providing the proof. Good morning. Oh, is Zachariah stuff going on now? I didn't even know that. Where was that posted there, TB? Send me an email. What does it say? Lana and I have been watching the Tennessee v. Zachariah post-conviction hearing. You'd be dying if you saw this shit. Sorry, off topic, I know, but I can just hear Lana cracking up at the government. Yeah, I would. I'll watch it on replay. He's innocent as hell. Or I should say this, he should have been found guilty. Okay, so Gary Jenkins just completely just saying all this ridiculous shit. He sees in his databases that Pullman cops pulled over Kober in October, and he now sees that his guys, Officer Tenego and Whitman, had identified the car a few weeks back. He now sees that. What? Wild. I said, how did he see this? Like, I want some more. I want him to explain that. So again, this is how this was all uncovered. They're saying he sees in his, and he's trying to say that he would have seen this before the probable cause was actually, the affidavit was wrote up. Again, this is all made up so that Gary Jenkins was going to take one for the team. WSU's community is going to freak out when Kober is arrested. Jenkins knows this. He's got a team of counselors on standby for the cops. He'll almost certainly have to offer their services to the university. He goes back to his database. What else was there about this guy that was missed? He's trying to get in front of these FOIAs that are one day going to all come public. His version of events. There was a break-in near his apartment reported recently. Wasn't there some story about a student being followed to her car? What else? What? This is why Steve is suing everybody. Okay. There was a break-in near his apartment reported recently. Wasn't there some story about a student being followed to her car? I always thought that the report of the break-in never made it to the police and that it was just, hey, come help me store put in cameras. His train of thought is interrupted by his phone. It's Fry thanking him for Culber's resume and cover letter. No problem, says Jenkins. Oh, and Gary, one more thing, says Fry, letting out a small chuckle. Aren't you glad you didn't accept his application? More than you know, replies Jenkins. Oh, they get a big chuckle out of that, huh? Aren't you glad you didn't accept his application? Yeah, he didn't have tits and ass. He was never going to get an exception from Gary Jenkins, who was only going to bring in a girl. Let's see. Who else do we have here? They just out themselves left and right. Okay, moving on to chapter 78. Hernandez, Adam Savis, and Chris Ebenhart. Around 40 highly trained members. Idaho murders. Pennsylvania police say force was used when search warrant was executed. The state police SWAT team are getting ready to enter. From John Miller and somebody else. Idaho suspect in student murders thoroughly cleaned vehicle and seen wearing surgical gloves multiple times outside family home. Sources say. CNN, January 6, 2023. You guys, these are your sources. And that would be John Miller and Aya Elmorosi. And it's in quotes, Idaho suspect in student murders thoroughly cleaned vehicle. Who is your source for that? Also seen wearing surgical gloves multiple times outside family home. Outside family home. Peter Van Sant says, the team in Pennsylvania wound up doing more. Never before seen photos and details about the man accused of murdering 4 Idaho college students. January 7th, 2023, CBS. Putting trash in Ziploc baggies, in quotes. Corinne, here's the source of that. Corinne, I don't even know. Cesarek. At time of arrest, Brian Kober was wearing latex gloves and putting trash in Ziploc bags. Prosecutor. What? Look at prosecutor. People Magazine, March 8th, 2023. Let's take a look. According to People Magazine, their source here, 288 here. Okay. They find Brian Kober awake, dressed in shorts and a shirt. He's standing in the kitchen wearing medical type gloves, putting trash in Ziploc bags. They surround him at gunpoint, zip tie his hands, and stuff him in a police car. Then they ransack the house and his car for anything and everything covered by the warrants. Jesus. And I'm like, okay, who's the source for that? Well, People Magazine. So James Patterson writes this book literally off of just 170 chapters. And you just basically took all of the sourcing that anybody's reported on and you just put it in a book. Moving on to chapter, where are we at here? Kober's attorneys claim that there's no victim DNA found in the home, car, and that came out June 26th of 2023. That means they have report. That means that they had to have lab reports to say that. Okay, lab reports. So a good time with the time right here of a timeline is by June 26, 2023, for Ann Taylor to say that there was no victim, DNA found in his home, car, apartment, all that stuff. And no signs of a cleanup as well. Now, Gary Jenkins would be interviewed again October of 2023, and he says, I've heard of his activities. Let's hear what Gary Jenkins has to say again. Gary Jenkins said, from what I've heard of his activities afterwards, he was pretty sophisticated in knowing how to get rid of DNA and whatever else he needed to do. I don't know if he went to Lewiston, but he certainly did a lot of driving around, end quote. Thanks, Gary. Where'd you get that information from? Gary. Gary. Has his mind on end of terms exams. He's just bumped into someone. Ben Roberts again. Oh. They needed to create a paper trail. Interview with Ben Roberts, April of 2025. We all felt he was creepy. Ben starts to see a slight change in Brian. Interview with Ben Roberts, November 2023. That was when the original trial was supposed to start, was in October of 2023. He's grown stubble. And here's that Brian's grading. This is Yaren Steinbach. Brian Kohlberger seemed preoccupied after Idaho murders. Former student, New York Post, January 3rd, 2023. He's grown a stubble, like his facial hair. Well, I think that's just interesting because we have pictures of him and he's like perfectly shaven, so this person's just absolutely garbage. People just want their 15 minutes of fame, I guess, 5 minutes. I don't know. Chapter 90, 91, 92. The fuck are these people? Rosie Perez, a local hairstylist, sees through. It's crazy to find out I interacted with this person. So, Brian's hairdresser. She did an interview. He booked session weeks after murder. January 15, 2023. So she was okay. This is the other thing. How in the world would you know to go in? This is how you know that there's a leak. Okay. How could his hairdresser, unless you have his phone and phone numbers, right? Somebody would have had to leak the information that this person was his hairdresser. Okay. To then go and contact her. For example, last night I called the guy that's the neighbor in Castagna on Castagna Road that said I had seen an SUV and an SUV was parked down at the end of my driveway. It looked like there was an SUV down there. I was outside doing work between 4 and 5 and it was an SUV. It was not like a car. And he was repeatedly calling the police department and it was like that they weren't taking him seriously. So I wanted to know if he wanted to talk about that because I'm taking him seriously. I just want to talk about how many different times he called. Did he email? Do you know what dates he gave his tips in? Because I want to FOIA those and I want to read them. So I'm working on that. That's happening in the background right now. That's one of the things I'm working on. But going back to this, in order to, this was so soon, chapter 92, it's about his hair. It's crazy to find out I interacted with this person. It's crazy. Brian Kohlberger's hairstylist says he was her regular, booked sessions weeks after murder. So the only people that would have access to that would be investigators because you downloaded his phone, right? And then you're contacting people or you're giving this to like, hey, well, what do you have for me? Do you have I just need to know people he was in contact with so I can reach out to them. And so I need you to give me that information. Well, this would have all happened after the gag order. Gary Jenkins again. Interviewed June of 2024. I mean, Gary Jenkins, what a slime ball. Why is Gary Jenkins talking? You know that he just didn't talk to James Patterson. Come on, man. Gary Jenkins. Yep, you ran Pullman. Yep, you were in charge of all those crooked ass cops that you hired that were fucking girls on the clock. Okay. I want to talk about the gay porn that's on Brian Koberger's phone. All right, because I want to know if Ben Roberts, and Brian Koberger got it on. How about that? I want more information on that. Why would Brian Koberger go and hang out with Ben Gay for 2 hours just standing there? Why would Brian Koberger ever ask to use his bathroom? He wouldn't. That's not Brian Koberger's style. He's a germaphobe. Okay. But I think that Ben Gay needed to make up a story as to why Brian Koberger was over at his freaking apartment for 2 hours. If they're tracking his locations and they're going to go back and see that him and Ben Gay were all chummy chum in a sardine can apartment. So I want to know about the gay porn that's on there. And I want to know about the fact that if Brian's such a bigot, he's a racist, he's homophobic, he's all these things, right? Usually gay guys don't mask that they're, especially at a liberal school like WSU. I don't think that Ben Roberts had to hide the fact that he knows what a Key West boomerang is. I don't think that he would have, it'd be pretty obvious. So I think it's interesting that Brian Koberger would be talking to somebody like that based on what people have said about him. So yeah, I just want to hear about this. Let's see this gay porn. I want to know if Brian Koberger was searching on the web during his time over at Ben Gay's apartment, Ben Roberts' apartment. I could totally see Brian Koberger being gay. I don't know. I just could see him being gay. Usually people that gay hate at the beginning are gay. Usually people that act like that is because they're gay. They find out that they're gay. Especially people that are living in a box. Yeah. I just find it hard to believe that if Brian Koberger has a thing against gay people, that he would be hanging out with Ben Roberts. And ask to go into Ben Roberts' apartment. Hey, can I come in and take a dump? Hey, can I come in and take a piss in your bathroom, a gay man's bathroom? Think about that. Just fucking off the wall, man. It's not gonna happen. Jesus. God, go back and read that. Go back and read that chapter. That chapter just blows my mind. Okay? This is not gonna happen. Yeah. And then I think it's funny that Ben Roberts felt the need or felt that he couldn't say, bro, you're right down the street from your house. I gotta go. No, you're not coming into my apartment. You know what I mean? I don't think anyone's ever taken me home from any time in my entire life where they've said to me, oh my gosh, hey, can I come in and run and use your bathroom really quick? That part, yes, but then this part. And then stay for 2 hours? No, that's never happened to me. I think maybe if like in college, shit. No, I drop me off. Hey, can I come in and use your bathroom? What? No, no. Yeah, come on in. Come on. Ben feared for his life that he should have called the police. I think it's crazy that all these people that are their careers are law enforcement, like oriented, and that none of them picked up the phone. And you know what? I'm gonna report this. I I could be so wrong, but I'd rather report it, be on the safe side, just so that it's there and there's documentation of it. But I'm gonna call, um, you know, this dude has a white car. Uh, I don't know, man. He's about. I don't know. Here you go. There's just you say you're looking for this car, white sedan or white. I don't know what. Here it is. I cannot believe that none of those girls called on him to give a tip that was Brian Koberger. I'm just kind of shocked, especially if someone's saying that Brian Koberger is going to end up being we're going to give him a PhD from the school, and then we're going, then he's going to rape people, basically. That he's going to then sexually assault people, and it's just like, whoa, what? Brian Koberger got 7 tickets parking outside of a building that all of these people go in and out of daily, and was getting tickets, and was supposedly walking people or trying to stalk people by following them when they would leave class. And then a quadruple homicide happens. And then 10 days later, they say, hey, we're looking for a white car. And then he's just racking up tickets still. You would think that Brian would be like, I can't get a ticket. Was he trying to get these tickets on purpose? Dude, that was the first thing that they said that they went and did is put in to the both campuses if you've ticketed a car, if parking tickets, anything like that, and then the parking passes. Get out of here, man. Okay, back over here. Chapter 93. What do we got here? Ben Roberts says Kevin Fixler. Roberts, another classmate, remembers interview with Ben Roberts, November 2023. So they got Ben Roberts to be talking pretty early on. Wonders if Brian is feeling the pressure and running into an entirely new group. Ben Roberts. What? Gonsalves, his blood boiling, and I know my history. Interview with Steve. Farm towns and trusting people. Okay, who's this? Chris Spargo. Along with graduate director Dale Willits. Oh my God, here we go. Wait. Chapter 94. Boom. Remember I told you I was looking up this dude from the parking place? Dale Willits. 305. Got him. Oh my God. Music to my ear. This is what I was just working on. Yes, here it is. Oh my God, December 9th. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Yes. Okay, right here. This guy is in charge of parking and all that shit that I just put out there. Let me show you where I put this out there on my big Sunday Night Live that I did. This is the stuff I've been working on to try to bring all of this stuff full circle to really pinpoint. Okay. Here we go. Ha ha. Let's David. All right, we're going to see if this guy name's got to come up. All right, so he says, okay. Heard that one of the thorny issues Interview with Gary Jenkins. Jesus, Gary. All right, here we go. December 9th. Brian is blowing up again at Professor Snyder. Only 2 days ago, which would mean December 7th, it had seemed as though Brian might have eked out a Hail Mary. He and Snyder the reason that they have these dates and are able to say this stuff is somebody must have turned over documented material. So Brian is blowing up again at Professor Snyder. So he's saying that this happened on December 9th. But then only 2 days ago, which would be like December 7th, is when there would have been a talk. He and Snyder, along with graduate director Dale, there you go. Dale, you're going down. And Dr. Melanie, you're going down too. So the cohorts here that they had met in Wilson Short Hall to discuss Brian's progress following the improvement plan that had been emailed to him on November 3rd. The plan that told him to be more respectful to women, his professors, his peers, and his students. While not perfect, we agreed that there was progress. Oh my God, do you know that James Patterson would almost become, oh my God, anything that they would have provided James Patterson if James Patterson wants to turn over, because James Patterson interviewed them for this book. James Patterson then provides Steve Gonsalves with all of this shit. Okay. And this is going to go towards that huge ass motherfucking lawsuit. Oh my God. Okay. While not perfect, we agreed that there was progress. They better be able to show that. Dr. Melanie wrote to Brian, yet the committee still decided it had to terminate him. What? Okay. And now the question's going to become is, when did they decide this? This is going to be wild. I think they actually have a chance here, because I think that there's way more to this than we could ever imagine. I mean, I can imagine it because I've been pulling back the fucking onion, but so WSU's lying. They hid all of this. This is what investigative journalism is all about. Okay. Because now, just 2 days after that promised meeting, Brian is losing it for the second time this semester with Snyder in the professor's office. When Ben and Brian's cohort hear about this, they are mystified about how anyone could rub basically the easygoing professor the wrong way. Wow. Ben said, if you fuck up badly enough that you wind up on a PIP, a performance improvement plan, as a graduate student, you have done something terribly, dreadfully, miserably wrong. But Brian cannot control himself in front of Snyder, apparently. The rest of the class has seen what happens to Brian when he's angry. He goes bright red and clenches his fist so hard that his knuckles turn white. Chief Jenkins heard that one of the thorny issues listen to this shit, heard that one of the thorny issues under discussion is the allegation by a woman student that Brian followed her to her car. Now, does Jenkins know about this? Because there's actually a police report. Is there a police report with Brian's name on it about following her to the car, and they buried it? Because we've been doing FOIA requests. I'm about to spell Brian's name wrong because they like to write up people's names incorrectly to hide reports. This is ridiculous. 2 days later, on December 11th, Dr. Newley wrote to Brian requesting a meeting at which he must have known she would fire him and he would lose his funding. She later wrote in her termination letter of December 19th that she requested the meeting because during his altercation with Professor Snyder, it became apparent that this is me saying, what are the odds that this letter was wrote on the same day as the FBI tip? Okay. It's not. This is WSU trying to cover their ass because they never thought that they would ever have to turn over any of the information with IGG. Okay. So this woman who's manning and running this program on December 9th. So that would mean, okay, that they're all lying when they're saying that nobody knew about it. And Gary Jenkins, and I keep this close to the chest, don't tell anybody about this. We're not saying Brian's name to anyone. Okay. Well, here, what are the odds that on December 19th, this woman would write up this letter? Okay. The odds are 0, in my opinion. And remember, in civil cases, you just have to show the preponderance of the evidence. It's not beyond a reasonable doubt. And I think that this would win. That this was all to try to cover their own ass because they were going to try to bury the whole IGG aspect of the things. As far as they knew, he'll come back in January, but they aren't giving much thought to him and his difficulties. What? Top of mind for them is the troubling fact that there have been these horrific murders in Moscow and the police seem to have no clue who did it. So everyone just wants to get the heck out of Dodge for the holidays. And I'm over here saying, what happened on December 11th? I said, bullshit. Why? Wouldn't be sent to Washington address. Why send it to the Pennsylvania address? Brian will receive this letter when he's back home in Pennsylvania. So the rest of the cohort's in the dark as to what happened. And I'm like, why would they send that to that? I think it would be sent, if that's the case, it'd be sent to both places. Brian's address now is in Washington. He changed his residence. See, he's 28 years old. Why in the world would you send anything to Pennsylvania? I think that's just crazy. Anyways. Oh, Gary Jenkins, what are you doing, dude? What are you doing? Whoever Chris Spargo is and Dale Willits, they were all in on that meeting because it's saying that while not perfectly agreed, and because now just 2 days after Chris Spargo, Brian Kober confronted by students in class he taught over grades weeks before Idaho murders. Inside Edition, July 21st, 2023. So those people were speaking to Inside Edition. Ben and Brian's cohorts hear about this. That's the interview with Ben Roberts, April of 2024. So literally since 2023 in October, James Patterson just keeps on talking to Ben Roberts and just to get more and more information. Chapter 96 is at 10:45 a.m. on the third day. Emma James, moment Indiana cops first pull over Idaho murders suspect and his father on their 2,500-mile cross-country trip home, where he calmly tells officers about a mass shooting at his university campus. Daily Mail, January 4th, 2023. Do you know how quickly that is for the Daily Mail to find out that Brian Kober was pulled over in Indiana? You find that out because you have like these bigger, you have leaks. You're contacting somebody that's saying like, okay, hey, yeah, I know somebody there. I'll contact them. Pulls over and waits for the officer. All details and quotes from traffic stops taken from law enforcement body cam release footage posted on YouTube. It's reported that the Indiana stops was FBI tailing Brian Kober across country. Why Indiana police stopped him twice. As a spokesperson for the FBI, in quotes, Kevin Fixler says that was FBI tailing. So did Kevin Fixler talk to somebody from the FBI? According to Brett Payne, he didn't try to obtain warrants, and the Culbers arrived in Pennsylvania on December 16th. What? Chapter 97. Brian gets in the car. This is a quote. Idaho suspect in student murders thoroughly cleaned vehicle, also seen wearing surgical. I mean, they say it again. Yeah. Crazy. Let's see who else is a source. Some TikTok from some girl. These include. Okay, while Jenkins' team watches, WSU PD officer Dawn Daniels, but she's not talked to, just Gary. Some of Fry's team, WSU PD officer Dawn Daniels, agency assist for Moscow Police Department, narrative January 13th. So they're using that from the narrative from a January 13th, 2023, probably police report. According to Idaho law, Daniel Wu, family of Idaho stabbing suspect, expressed support for him, sympathy for victims. Who the fuck is Daniel Wu? Dan Springer, Caitlin McFall, and Laura Engel. As a Fox News reporter explained, those are three people. Idaho murder suspect Brian Kober wearing suicide prevention vest. Police use crime scene DNA sources say. So they were all. So who would be outing the fact that they used IgG in December of 2022 when they're going to try to bury it? Labar said that he was astonished. Fuck. Let's see. So that was his attorney there. Stacy Lang and Elizabeth Worthington. Update on Kober back in Idaho. His former PA attorney speaks out and says, he was very candid with me. Chris Como and Liz Jazin. So did Brian's obviously high intelligence? The fuck? Who are these people? David DeCoke. David did coke. David DeCoke. David DeCoke. And Nicholas. David DeCoke. Yeah, David DeCoke. Tell me about it, David. The hell? David DeCoke and Nicholas, suspect in college student killings, is being taken to Idaho. He looks 3 times at his family. This is in the courtroom. Jack Morfitt and Ben Kessling. The family released a statement by Tom Palmer, family of alleged Idaho killer Brian Kober, released a statement. So he's just listing all the people that basically, if you wrote up an article, whoever the person was that wrote it, he's just repeating it. The single prop plane, Audrey Conkle, Michael and Adam Saves. When let's talk about being transferred on over. Sea of law enforcement that were waiting for him. Agents loaded him into a black SUV. Thank you. Okay. Let's see who else we have here. Don't know who Mariah Velez is. All right. Interview again with Gary Jenkins. Gary, God damn it, Gary. Gary gets his ass all up in this shit. Culber's class list. WSU Department of Criminal Justice releases statement on arrest. Oh my God. I can't think of a group of people. Through journalists pose as students, the cohorts wind up locking. So Ben is saying that people are coming to the campus acting like they're students, but they're really journalists. Okay. The only silver lining, the first time that you ever hear about Emma Bailey is page 341, where I think it's 341. Yeah. 341. Lexi Patterson, daughter of local lawyer Mike Pattinson, is pissed. She's on TikTok on her phone watching all these videos that WSU students are making about Brian Kohlberger. Apparently, the guy was a TA. He was hired by WSU. WSU has a reputation locally for hiding bad news. Lexi knows a lot about this because her mom works there, so she's heard the stories. Holy shit! Their hazing is much worse than ours, she says, explaining that WSU Greek life, unlike the University of Idaho, is not regulated by the council. Damn. The only silver lining, and it's very, very a thin one, is that Kohlberger's arrest removes a question mark Lexi had about the possible role of someone she went to Moscow High School with named Emma Bailey. There you go. Now, I've spoken with Emma Bailey through jail of messages back and forth. When I saw this, I was like, Jesus. But yeah, she's like, she knows Emma. She went to high school with her. Emma lived near the King Road house. Look at this. Are we supposed to believe this? Emma lived near the King Road house and would, months later, face drug-related charges in connection with the suspicious death of another UI student. Prosecutors dismissed that case. So I'm going to be closing this out here. When the vandal alert went out about an unconscious person and then Lexi heard about the murders, she was worried that drugs and Emma were involved. Well, for you to even suspect that must mean that they're no stranger to doing drugs. But when she learned it was a knife attack and that drugs were not involved, she stopped suspecting Emma. When Lexi sees all the stuff floating around on TikTok about Kohlberger and his strange behavior, she's relieved that he's not from Moscow. That's all they care about, is that the person was not from Moscow. That's all they care about. Even so, as she looks around at the enhanced police presence and the way everyone now locks their cars and doors at night, she realizes that the imprint Kohlberger made on Moscow is going to last for a very, very long time. People think they know how it affected our town, she said, but they don't. It isn't the same. We lock all of our doors. You should have been locking them from day one. All of our car doors. Our little town isn't as safe as we thought it was. Well, if the bad guy's in prison, it's still as safe as it was ever before. He must have other fears, honey. And in her mind, WSU is primarily to blame. There you go. Lexi says it's all WSU's fault. It's primarily to blame. Well, I can't wait to hear what I'm like. I hate people that just, now, Lexi, you're spreading rumors, in my opinion. Like, put out some fucking facts, man. Anyways. I do think that they hide everything. I think they do that a lot at college campuses. But I'm just so sick and tired of hearing, like, this doesn't happen in Moscow. Nothing bad happens in Moscow. No, you guys just change the narrative in Moscow. Okay? You guys cover things up in Moscow. Okay? Okay. But yeah. So if you actually go through this and you read when James Patterson's trying to describe his sources, 90% of his sources are coming from other journalists. Okay. And the question would be I go through this and I'm like, who did you really interview? Like, Lexi would be a source. that's not like a journalist. The inmates are housed in a square. Interview with Brandon Jordan. Now, that would be interesting to me. Is this guy work at the jail? I'd want to know that. So let's see. Let's do a little quick Google search here. Who is Brandon Jordan? He did an interview September of 2024. That would be breaking the gag. I can only imagine if he's giving an interview on the inmates are housed in a square. How would he know that? Someone with a sense of humor scrawled, interview with Brandon Jordan. A friend of Josie and Lyndon's who was drunk, interview with Josie Lauderin, whatever her last name is. Inmates have wives and children too. Interview with Brandon Jordan. Yeah. James really made millions of other people's work. I don't know what he did. I would love to know how many books he sold. I bought this first edition here and wrote all over it. So anyways, I cross-reference everything you could possibly get your hands on to see if I can see where something gives us a little bit of like, oh, they're there, they slipped up there. But all right, I'm gonna go to lunch. I'm gonna get back to doing some research because I'm gonna be live tonight, doing a nighttime live from my nighttime folks. Past couple of days I've been during the day. I try to mix it up for you guys. Okay. But come back and join me tonight. You guys rock. I'll write out a Word document with the list of all these names. And if you would like, maybe I'll, yeah. If I find anything more, I'll go through it and put it on my community posts. But for right now, I'm done with James Patterson and his sources. I just think it's irresponsible. The way that he did this book, he just took the article, whatever it was said, and regurgitated it and then just gave them credit for it. That's where he got it. He cited his source. So until next time, guys, thank you so much, moderators. I appreciate you. And Kelly bought 5 Truth and Transparency members for other people. And Happy Days coming through with $49.99. Whoop, whoop. Come on, ride the train. And Super Juror number 13. Look out, guys. I got to upload some enhanced videos for audio. We got to go through some more interviews. Idaho4 completely being investigated on this channel. Join me. Until next time, over and out. Over and out. If anybody has that gay porn, if anybody knows if Ben Roberts wants to talk, I want to talk about some gay shit. Okay, bye.